What do you think of the hat? A patron of mine found a seller on Etsy that makes these, so I asked my avatar artist to make this for me just for this video, so I could then take the opportunity to shill that earlier mentioned Etsy. Mostly because I'm also doing a Streamlabs thing to try and get one, where you can choose your own colour scheme, and well, Christina went with this colour scheme because of Cthulhu. I'm okay with it. But when I buy my own one, it's going to be a different colour. Link to the Etsy in the description. Now today's subject is going to be about the Bank of England. I want to talk about Trump and Kim Jong-un's summit. I also want to talk about the EU debate that's happening in Parliament this week. But they are happening later in the week. So until then, I get to cover nonsense subjects like this that shows how dishonest the media can be and how some people perceive things to be because of their own bias. So this news article is taken from the BBC. Row over staggering failure to pick woman for Bank of England MPC. MPC stands for Monetary Policy Committee, for those that don't know. And the Bank of England is still run by that blasted Canadian that introduced the plastic notes that slip out of everyone's wallets, including mine. I lost £15 a couple months ago. That was nice. Thank you, Karlee. The appointment of another male economist to the Bank of England's rate-setting Monetary Policy Committee has drawn fire from the female chairs of two House of Commons committees. Here's the picture of the Monetary Policy Committee. The only person on there that I know of is Mark Carney, front centre right side. What a boring looking man. That all aside, I want to now state what I think, based on what limited information we now have. Go figure, female chairs of two House of Commons committees would be those that take offence, ignoring what we will soon discover to be evidence. Now with these kinds of jobs, you'd think that these people would then want to push for something like equality of outcome, which does seem to be what they want, because based on what we are going to discover soon, what you are also going to discover soon, you have equality of opportunity, but without 100% transparency on the application process and interviews and other such evaluations that may or may not take place. Conspiracy theorist types will then start to assume that those that got the jobs only got the jobs because of who they know. I am not, of course, discounting that as a possible factor. I would put the aforementioned non-existent plastic money on some of these people having known each other away from the Bank of England. That is unsurprising that networking exists, and that it does in fact benefit some people. That is a consequence of life. That said, I am not trying to fob it off, but I am going to ignore this particular factor because of what we will soon discover and you will discover in this article. The Business Committee's Rachel Reeves called it truly staggering, while Nicky Morgan from the Treasury Committee said she was disappointed. Nicky Morgan last year had actually written a letter to the Chancellor of the Exchequer requesting further transparency within the application process, so as to get a better idea as to who was applying for the jobs. I would argue, to prevent people like this being truly disappointed, that you would then want absolute transparency, so you would then know why certain people were not being selected over other people. And I would argue right now, gender is an irrelevant factor, but people want to make it a factor because they feel that you're only truly being represented, and of course by extension inspiring the younger generations when there are women's in jobs, even if they're not as skilled as their male counterparts. The Treasury said the role had been awarded on merit. The department insisted it was committed to diversity and encouraging the broadest range of candidates. It had actively contacted 44 women and 43 men to apply for the role. Oh, the backlash, you can see it, you can sense it now, can't you? All those women's and not one was selected. Let's ignore the 42 men that didn't get the job either. Of those, 19 men and 8 women applied and 4 women and 1 man were shortlisted. It also pointed out that 2 of the 3 people on the interview panel were women. The final appointment decision was based on merit. As long as someone isn't telling me the 2 women who also selected the 1 man who took the job don't have some internalized misogyny, then we're fine. It is unfortunate that a female was not selected, and without having access to the applications, evidence of the interviews, so that it can be properly vetted and reviewed by, well, you, I guess, Nicky Morgan? You, possibly, Rachel Reeves? Then you have to assume that they did not get the job because they were not good enough. However, Ms. Reeves said 8 of the 9-strong Monetary Policy Committee are currently men, and it is truly staggering that the Treasury has failed to appoint a woman to this role. The fact that 4 women were shortlisted shows there are plenty of capable and well-qualified women, but yet again the top jobs seem to be reserved for men. Basically, a molehill into a mountain. You are making an issue out of a non-issue, and we all know the only way you, Miss Reeves, will be sated is with equality of outcome, which does then, by logic, deprive some people of jobs. And if we bleed this through all forms of employment, so everyone has equal representation, think of all the occupations where there are going to be vacancies not taken by women's, or many, many vacancies not taken by men. Let's start with the building sector and the care sector, both dominated by the opposite gender, so you have to surmise here that your nonsense view doesn't really hold up. And in the field of economics, just how important is gender? Do you believe these women's are going to be inspirational to the up-and-coming ladies? No, because no one cares. Miss Morgan said, "I am disappointed that the gender balance in the MPC will not be improved through this appointment. While I welcome the fact that 4 women were shortlisted for this role, it is notable that only the shortlisted male candidate has been chosen." Well, let's find out what made this particular candidate so special. Professor Haskell, Jonathon Haskell, lecturer in economics at the Imperial College Business School. Sounds to me like he might know what he's doing then. Unless we know more about the 4 female candidates, we cannot do anything other than assume, and by you assuming, you make yourselves look stupid. You, Nikki Morgan, have requested more transparency in applications, so you could look at gender disparity especially, which is why I guess your particular response is not as retarded as that of Miss Reeves, who just assumed. I'm happy to dismiss Miss Morgan's because it's just disappointment. Miss Reeves is, I guess in this instant, the person I'm most annoyed by. Chancellor Philip Hammond said Professor Haskell's expertise in productivity and innovation will further sharpen the committee's understanding of the British economy. Our economy is in quite a delicate place right now, so of course we would want to have the absolute best people. Their gender is not a relevant factor, possibly how they're connected, but mostly what they bring to the table. For Jonathon Haskell, it would be his recent book, Capitalism Without Capital, which is the discussion about how businesses which don't have much physical capital are able to make a lot of money, because a lot of our economy's backbone, as he says himself in a video which I'm linking in the description, is coming from places where there isn't much capital. I've dumbed it down a little, I do apologise. His appointment was based on recommendations to the Chancellor made by an interview panel comprising a bunch of people. I don't care about them. Sarah Smith, Professor of Economics at Bristol University, said Professor Haskell was without a doubt an excellent appointment, but this leaves only one woman on the committee. That's unfortunate, but as you have said, he's an excellent appointment. If another position becomes open, then of course, if there's an opportunity to hire a female, then you hire a female, but you don't hire a female because she's female. Have I said that yet? You literally do not hire someone just because of their gender. You hire them because of what they bring. If you're not hiring someone for this position because they don't have the skills, then perhaps we need to train more women to be better at economics. That sounds really sexist, but I think most of you, if not all of you, know what I mean. Get more women interested in the subject to the point where one will stand out enough to get such a high-ranked position, which I think is very important. And you yourself make the comment here. The profession is going to have to think seriously about attracting a more diverse range of people and projecting a broader image. Otherwise, it is in danger of being seen as a subject that is by men and for men. Now, to finish this, because I want to touch on the gender pay gap nonsense, at the bottom here it references the gender pay gap report that revealed its male staff were paid almost a quarter more than the female employees. But the way it has been portrayed is inaccurate, because there is a greater proportion of men in senior roles earning higher salaries. So the gender pay gap report, as always, is derived from the median, which is in and of itself inaccurate. It's like the Ryanair thing again, where the men make vastly more and yet they dominate the pilot position, which is paid ever so slightly more than that of the air stewardess. In summary, if you're going to hire someone for a position, you hire them not because of their identity, you hire them because of the skills they bring to the table. Those skills you are hiring to make money with. which I think is what you're supposed to do. You're not supposed to hire someone because they have 2 X chromosomes. That sounded transphobic. You know what I mean. You hire the best person for the job. It is meritocracy and not equality of outcome. If you go down equality of outcome, you risk not having the very best machine in that position. And because of that, you place us in an even more dangerous area of uncertainty, which is not what we want from the Monetary Policy Committee. I know some political parties are going down this path of equal representation. I know the Labour Party is, and they are also at risk of making these kind of mistakes because they don't have the right people, all under the guise of wanting to appear virtuous, so virtuous that they represent everyone and simultaneously no one. Anyway, I hope everyone has a lovely Monday, and thank you all for listening.
Oh, goddowns.
Imagine my shock